Here we are, my friend Kevin Boyd. Welcome to the Omniverse Comics Guide. How are you, sir?
I'm well, Eric. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. For those who haven't had heard of Kevin Boyd on our show yet, Kevin is an old friend, but he's also the local and I think at this point the continental historian for comic books and curating, and he runs Fan Expo throughout the North America. Does it go worldwide now, Kev?
No, just North America. I mean,
North America.
technically, there's a show that we're affiliated with in Dubai, but
Wow.
it's not a Fan Expo show. Yeah.
Okay. So if you've been to a Fan Expo show throughout North America, all of your comic guests and your programming, this man is the man to thank for a lot of that work. Of course, he's got a whole team of people that work with him. Shout out to them, but Kevin is that guy. Now, for those listening, I can't forget to mention, hit that subscribe button on your podcast or on your YouTube, wherever you might be listening or watching the show. We appreciate you for tuning in. But we're gonna do a collector's item special this week with
Right
Kev.
on.
That's usually Dave's shtick. He's the master at it. I love those episodes. But I said, let me give it a shot. Let me get the best collector that I know, who's got all of the comic book goodness you could ask for. Is this man here? But before we get into that, Kev, we got Fan Expo Canada coming up in just under a month. So tell us what people can look forward to the Fan Expo Canada, which is it the biggest Fan Expo event?
Fan Expo Canada is the it's the founding show and one of our biggest. I think right now MegaCon is also sort of around the same size.
Okay.
That's in Orlando, Florida. But Fan Expo Canada is our flagship show, is I think the right terminology. So um, and it's crazy. We got as usual, we're gonna have a lot of great comic guests coming. Frank Miller is coming, and
Wow.
Andy Kubert, Joe Quesada,
Nice.
uh,
Very
Jason
nice.
Fabok, Steve McNiven, Amazing Spider-Man writer Zeb Wells is coming. Rafael Grandpa is from Brazil. I'm amazed he's able to make it up.
That's
He's got a
great.
big Batman book coming out in September. We got Josh Williamson, who writes Superman and Green Arrow.
Everything for DC, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah, including Batman and Robin, which is drawn by Simone DeMio, who's also coming.
Nice.
We have legendary writer and editor Jim Shooter coming.
Return
Got
guest.
hometown favorite Ken Lashley will be there, and then another 90 or so comic guests associated. So we've got like Sweeney Boo, who draws Harley Quinn. We've got Enid Ballum, who draws New Mutants. We've got Tate Bromble, who writes House of Slaughter for Boom Studios. Jamal Campbell, Superman artist. Janoy Lindsay, who does Superboy. Dylan Burnett, who does a comic called Arcade Kings. It's just Clayton Green, Mike Del Mundo. There's just tons of names coming.
And
Tom
some of the
Gorman.
people like Mike Del Mundo, like that's a big name for another con. That would be, top of the
Yeah,
list. In Toronto, we've got a wealth of creators here. We're really lucky.
we do. Yeah.
Do you find Toronto to be a pretty easy show to book or
Yes.
difficult because there's so many people who want to come?
So it's I find it easy because the space can fill up really quickly. Um, the problem with that is sometimes you have to make choices over who can't get a spot, and
Okay.
then especially if there's lots of people coming in um, who are good names for the show who've never done it before. So it ends up being tougher on some of the local creators who don't have big projects in the work right at the moment.
Mm,
So and then it's just a question of space because some people get a half table, some people get a full table, and then some are contractually obligated to get two tables, right? Like if Frank Miller gets two tables.
sure.
Um, but yeah, it's having to make decisions of what's important, who's working on big projects, what's best for this show. So so I have to make some tough decisions sometimes.
Yeah.
And Toronto was one of those shows where like again just big show, but there are only so many tables. I'd love to have 200 tables for comic guests and then be able to fill them all. But there's just as the show has grown, so have other areas. So we're restricted to pretty much what we've had. which
Right.
is about 81 pro tables around the outer edges, and then Raid Studios gets an island
Yeah.
to work with.
And
So
just the Raid Studios alone, they got a bunch of superstars that you
yes,
can meet there. So
yeah,
as well as indie creators, it's great. No, it's
mm,
even our smaller, quote unquote, smaller show in March, you still get a lot of great guests that come through that are just either once in a blue moon they might come, but just your regular guests. They've got
mhm,
image books, they've got and like you mentioned a couple people like Jamal Campbell and Janoy Lindsay, and these were guys who I remember my first couple Comic Cons coming, they just
mhm,
had an artist table, just them and
yes,
their friends, and now they're working in the big leagues. So it's
yeah,
really cool to see everybody's progression over the years.
and
It's so
that's,
nice.
I mean, especially for, I mean, this is the hometown show for me, so it's really, I'm really proud of a lot of these guys that have gone and made their way in the industry and made names for themselves, and they're now a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Eisner
yeah,
Award winners, et cetera, et cetera. It's so true.
yeah.
So tell us where it's going to be held and the dates that it'll be for those listening and
So
watching.
Metro Toronto Convention Center in both the north and the south buildings,
Nice.
and it's the dates are August 24th to August 27th.
Okay.
And
What any suggestions as an organizer of how the best way for someone to prep or to enjoy the weekend or maybe the day? Like if someone's coming for a day and they're comic book fans, what
mhm.
would be your kind of guide for them to here's how to make the most of your day to want to
Well,
come
I mean,
back,
take a look at the floor plan, take a look at where everyone's located.
right?
Make sure that the guests you want to see are coming, because sometimes people cancel last minute, things happen, people get sick or family members get sick. So sometimes, so you don't want to drag a lot of heavy books down if someone's not going to be there.
Mm,
But if someone is, then you want to make sure you got your stuff covered. So make sure you can carry your stuff. That's a whole, especially you and I are big hardcover collectors.
that's
So
right.
those can be you almost need a cart or something to drag them around. But
So,
make sure
since
you
I've
got some.
had those, I'm like, I guess I'm not getting anything signed because I'm not bringing all three Green Lantern Omnis for someone to sign. That it's just not gonna happen.
No, yeah, yeah.
I pack light.
I sometimes do it. I put it in the car, especially since I'm gonna have I have the space to store my stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's tough and it can be hard on your back
Oh,
for sure.
especially unless if you don't have a place where a friend at a table, like
Yes.
fellow artist or something, where you can kind of drop off your stuff. And shout out
Yeah.
to Sam Noir and Shane Heron, who
Mm.
always say, just come sit with us, because
Yeah.
it's a lifesaver. It really
Yeah.
is. So yes, good
No, for
idea.
sure.
Pack smart.
Be prepared. Guests, a lot more guests charge these days for their autographs. So just be prepared that you may have to spend some money on autographs. I wish they were free, but that's not my up to me, and
Yeah.
artists have to make money too. So you're gonna have varied. Like if you're looking to get a Frank Miller autograph, that's about $100.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good to know, though. It's good to know
yeah,
before going in, right? Because people sometimes go to these things thinking that they just interact with whoever might be there easily, and it's not always the case. Sometimes
yeah.
it can be, but Frank Miller coming through. I mean, he's a director now, right? What's he like? I'm gonna find out this year, hopefully. But
Miller's a good guy. He's intense. He's very knowledgeable, very opinionated. Um, so, and then of course he's celebrating the 25th anniversary of 300, the graphic novel, this
hmm.
year with a special VIP event.
The best day would you say for someone to go if they're going for one day?
I would say go, unless you want to see Frank Miller, which you have to go Saturday. I would say come on Thursday or Friday.
All right then, August 24th to 27th, Metro Toronto Convention Center, 2023 Fan Expo Canada. Be there if you're in the Greater Toronto area or even internationally, right? This is a show that people can come to. It's worth their while if they want to come internationally.
Totally, totally. And the website is fanexpocanada.com. Instagram is at FanExpo Canada, and same thing for Twitter.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
Let us talk about our collections, your collection
Okay, okay.
specifically. Um, we got we give the guest a couple of options to choose from in regards to their collection. You picked
Mhm,
your five. I don't
mhm.
know what any of those answers are, but I'm looking forward to it. And I'm sure that with the collection that you have, I mean, I get to see some of the stuff you've shown me. But man, you've
Mhm.
pretty much got it all or have had it all. So I'm excited to see what some of your picks are. So let's begin with something current. What's a
Mhm.
current read that you're enjoying? Because I'll admit, if I'm reading something current, it'll usually be an image miniseries or something that I can get cover to cover.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on in Marvel and DC. So what do you recommend,
Okay.
if
I still
anything,
follow
from
a
that?
lot of Marvel and DC. Um, I am enjoying Amazing Spider-Man still,
Okay.
by Zeb Wells, and that's a great read. And mostly, I follow people like Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips.
I
They
can't
do
keep
some
up.
great graphic novels,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I usually read their stuff when it comes out. Um, it's tough, like I was, Invincible was a favorite of mine,
Mm.
and I know that Ryan Ottley keeps teasing that he's going to do a Battle Beast series at some point. So I keep waiting for news on that. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's tough. It's tough. Like, is there anything I'm really loving right now? I mean, I loved Once and Feature, but that wrapped up a few months back from Boom Studios, and that
Okay.
was Kieran Gillen and Dan Mora. It's
And you rec
completely wrapped up. So if you were looking for a good, complete, done in one, I think it's like 6 or 7 trade paperbacks. It's all Arthurian legends with a horror tint. Really good stuff.
Okay.
Um,
For your
just looking.
recommendation, I'll give it a shot. I'm on the fence with Kieran Gillen. I really liked his Darth Vader, like the
Yeah,
stuff he was doing with Star Wars stuff was really good.
yeah.
And here or there some superhero or image stuff, but I'm not that like familiar where I'm like, hey, stuff's coming out, I gotta get it. But
Hmm.
a lot of people swear by it. So once in future, you would say is a definite give it a
That's a good
shot.
one. I am looking forward to Raphael Grampa's Gargoyle of Gotham, the Batman series he's doing. It looks
Oh,
pretty awesome. Yeah.
there. It seems like every time I look at what's coming out from DC, it's always a lot of Batman. When I go
Yes.
on to buy a collected edition, man, it's always something coming out collected by. So I don't know what's worth checking out because it's just so much. But
Yeah.
as always, he's the number one seller and everything. So I understand.
Yeah. It's always Batman all the time at DC. I think they've tried other things and they just find that nothing else moves the way that Batman does.
Do
So
you still find it interesting though, Kev, after like so much Batman?
do I?
Like how much
That's a
Joker
different
stories do
question.
you need?
I'm not. Yeah, I stopped reading Batman stuff a while back, so I
Yeah,
can't say that I've gone to look at. I've heard great things about the One Bad Day stuff, but I haven't read any of it yet. I was thinking maybe when it was collected, I might check it out.
yeah. Uh, so there's a lot of current reads that you recommend, which is good. It's always good to have more than less.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So
Let's pick another one of these collector edition questions.
mhm.
A guilty pleasure. I'm always interested in what people consider a guilty pleasure because I'm pretty bad at it. Like I
Yeah,
sometimes put, but what for you? What's your guilty pleasure?
my guilty pleasure is collecting Hot Toys, of which I've got a ton, including this brilliant piece right here.
That's beautiful.
The This is the Moon Knight that just came out a while back.
I don't think there's anything to be guilty about. It's
Well,
you
it's
got some.
expensive. They take a bite out of crime. I mean, out of my bank account. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite one that's just is that the one that you're just like
This
so
is my
proud of right
current
now?
favorite.
Okay.
If I tilt over this one, you can see some of my quarter scales on top of the bookshelf, just by my TV.
Yeah, yeah, I see a
If
couple
I
of them. There you
tilt
go.
down,
You tilt down,
you,
there you go.
you can see the beast. Do you
Is
see
that
it?
a I gotta put my glasses on.
Just at the bottom of the screen there, you can
Is that a
see
DeLorean, Marty?
the DeLorean with Marty and Doc is riding inside, and uh, and that's Marty from Back to the Future too.
I can't tell you how jealous I am right now because I don't know if that's my favorite movie.
Was
I recently got my apprentice at work to watch it for the first time and he binged all three. He says it holds up for a movie that came out in the 80s. I'm like, you better believe it holds up.
Oh yeah, no, it's so well done. I mean, there are some things that some people have pointed out that don't make sense, and they're like, yeah, okay, I guess. And logically, maybe there's a jump there, but I find that the trilogy is just so complete. It's just such a great story.
Yeah, and you can tell that Bob Gale's a comic book nerd. Like there's just
Yes.
a way of continuity of making mention of making things matter of a callback and paying it off. It's all there, and you can
Yeah.
just I can understand why it appeals to so many geeks and nerds like us who are like, hey, did you see that thing in the back? Like, it's
Mhm.
full of those Easter eggs. And I think I heard Kevin Feige years ago on the Nerdist say that it was Back to the Future that inspired him to have the post-credit scenes all the time.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, because when he saw Back to the Future 2, he said that they showed the trailer for 3,
Yeah.
and it just like made him so excited for the net. He couldn't wait to see what was coming next. So he said if we put that in all of the Avengers, it'll always get people to stay till the end and pay attention for something. So, and then of course in Endgame they do the Back to the Future trick where they go into the first movie, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so I mean, total sucker for it.
Yeah.
Okay, um, your favorite purchase? Do you have a favorite purchase? All these years of collecting, owning a comic book shop,
Yeah.
art pieces.
So I often think when I think of my favorite purchase, I think of what's the one thing that I would want to pick up and walk out of here with and have with me to the end of days. And
Mm,
it's probably it's just behind me here. And it fits in with your stuff because I know you love omnibuses, but it's the Spider-Man Volume One,
the Omni.
so the Omni, yeah,
Got it. Yeah, you've mentioned that before. That's like
and
your
it's of course
I've
signed by
signed.
Stan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
You
that's
know,
the one.
to
That's the
me,
one that starts it all.
these are perfect. Like it's got the 38 issues that Lee and Ditko did, as well as the 2 annuals, and so it's got everything I would want to. Like if I couldn't read or buy any more comics, and I was only able to take one thing out of here, I would take that and keep it.
Were some of the I don't know how old you are, but you were too young to have picked up one of those on the newsstand.
No, I'm turning 54 in October, so
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say
no,
there's no way you were around for issue like 32 or something like that. But
no,
I mean, it is the definitive Spider-Man, right? You
yeah,
can argue it all you like, but it's the lead, the two creators doing their thing, and it's the perfect collection in many ways, I think, as a pick because
hmm
it's got everything you want from them. A lot of times these omnibuses nowadays they come incomplete because I didn't work on those issues or that doesn't
yeah,
fit in with this story, whatever. But for this, it's like this is what the creators made. It's all here. There you
yeah,
go. You're welcome. With
yeah.
the letter columns and everything. So
I'm actually reorganizing my Marvel shelves as we were talking. So yeah, it's like how many versions of Fantastic Four #1 do I have, and Spider-Man #1, and AF-15, and
yeah,
it's quite a bit. So
right. It happens where you realize like I'm doubling up too much.
weird thing for me is I made a decision to go with Epic Collections.
It's a good
So
choice.
yeah, I stopped. I used to get all the Marvel Masterworks.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's an expensive
yeah,
collecting. Yeah, those are beautiful books, but man.
and I kind of felt they'd reached the end of the like when the new volumes are like Dazzler and She-Hulk and Spider-Woman and Ghost Rider. I'm like, yeah, I don't think I need to get these anymore. I think I've hit my limit. I'm
Those don't,
happy
yeah, they
with
don't
what I
fall to the
have.
masterwork
Yeah,
quality
Dazzler
anymore.
is not a masterwork, right? I mean, it has the kitschy place, but I would buy it. I would buy an Epic collection with 2 years worth of stories just to check it out. But yeah, no, I'd rather have. And the Epic collections do jump around a little bit in time. So
Yes. But I find that's kind of the charm of them because I
mm,
remember reading comics like that,
yeah,
jumping around whenever you got an issue, wherever, or if it was a 2-year-old Iron Man or if it was a brand spanking new Batman, you just read whatever you could get your hands on. So I kind of like that about the Epic collections because
yeah,
you're going through Marvel history as you read it
true. Yeah, yeah,
and piecing it together. It's like one big puzzle.
yeah. I agree.
Are you going to keep all of them? Or do you still like purge your Epic collection when you're like,
No,
I'm
no,
done with that?
I've been keeping them all. Um,
Oh, good for you.
the ones I'm not sure about are like Star Wars. I have some Star Wars, but I haven't been buying them all. And I'm disappointed that since Marvel lost the Conan license, that we'll never get a full run of Conan that way.
Yeah, I mean, they were putting out those Omnis fast and furious. I guess that
Mhm.
was the reason. So what happens now with Conan? I'm not, up to date
Well,
with who's
Titan
got it.
has the license now. So Titan is continuing with the Omnibus program.
Okay,
And so they're representing some of the ones that Marvel did and also continuing on with the ones they haven't done. So
got you. Um, okay, so we were at your favorite purchase, which was the Spider-Man Omnibus, Volume 1.
yeah,
Absolutely, great pick. Okay.
this is another good one.
Ooh, let's see.
This
Marvels.
is this is the platinum edition of the Marvels,
Pretty.
and
It's very
it's
pretty.
almost as big as that Spider-Man volume. But it's got
Damn. Now,
it's
when you read it, do you pull that out?
no, I actually have another smaller one which I have to
Yeah.
left to read. But yeah, there's this one, and then I don't know, did I get any signatures in this one? I don't think I did. I have multiple versions of this book. Yeah, this is not a signed one, but I do have
It's a beautiful
another version
cover.
of the Marvels, which has autographs by Stan Lee, John Romita, Alex Ross, Mark Waid, Chris Claremont, anyone who has inspiration for the stories that were in that. So
That's cool. That's a cool idea.
yeah,
Very nice. Um, okay. How about a complete set? I know
complete
you
set.
probably got a couple of those, but what's your favorite complete set?
My favorite complete set. It was tough. I did have a complete run of Amazing Spider-Man at one point,
Number
but
one until which number?
I think I was at issue like 4 or 500 when I stopped.
What
Um,
made you say that's it? That's where I cap it.
I, like at some point I just stopped buying the new issues of Spider-Man and just went to digital.
Okay.
Um, and so when I had well, actually it was before I had the store. It was just back in the early 2000s, when I needed money for stuff. When I was doing my own shows and things like that, I needed money, and things had to be paid for. So the most immediate source of income was to sell the comics. And I mean, I regret it to a certain extent. No more than anything else I've had to sell over the years. But it was fun to have it, and I really it was the number one was 1.8. It was not great. It was water damaged, but it was complete. Um, and it should have been qualified. It would have gotten a better grade as a qualified book
Mm.
because the original owner had, I guess they had them in a box under a couch, and there was water that leaked in, and water just sat on the top of the book, and it didn't. And then they wiped it off quickly, so it didn't soak the whole book, so the book wasn't all warbly. It was just the cover, and then some flecks of color came out when they did that when they ran their hand across it. So the cover itself was wavy and had little inflections in it, but it was a solid copy. And I got Stan to sign it. Did the signature series, and I think I
That's
flipped it for
awesome.
like 2 grand at the time. But now I probably could have gotten 15 grand for it. So, but
Yeah, but
it is what it is.
yeah, that's what
Um,
that 2 grand at that time was still a good chunk of money,
yeah.
right?
So the one complete thing I do have right now that I still value is Cerebus, the aardvark. So I have a full run of the 300 issues, plus related one shots and Savage Sword collections and things like that. So
That's very cool. I did not expect you to say Cerebus.
I've gotten rid of most of my comics over the years and switched over to books and hardcovers and trade paperbacks. But few comic sets, I've kept everything. Cerebus will be one. And I have the last issue I needed to complete the set was a number 5. I had gone to Dave Sims' house for a signing with Paradise Comics in 2003 when the last issue came out, and he pulled out all his file copies, like the ones he'd been saving. He thought he was Max Gaines, the guy from Mad and EC Comics, and he kept 20 copies of every book he published. So he pulled those out, and we got some of them graded, and some of them went for big money, and I think he ended up holding on to quite a few of them, and they're been made available for sale again. But I kept joking with him and saying, I'm going to steal one of these number fives because I need one. Like, this is the only issue I don't have. And he said, no, can't. They're part of the archive. You can't do this.
Oh man.
So anyway, I didn't steal it. But I did get a letter and a package around the time of the Paradise Convention the next year, and in it was a number five, and it said
Nice.
that I moved a book. After all of the file copies were moved out for grading, I was moving a file cabinet, and out from under the cabinet slid a copy of number five. And he said that was the copy that you were like that was for you, basically. So, but I still had to pay guide price for it. So
That's okay.
yeah,
That's okay. That's an awesome story.
yeah.
So, having been a collector and I'm gonna ask a side question before we get to the last one. All of the things that have come into your hands through conventions, owning the store, people trading in, what's the that one book, that holy grail that you tracked down or that you saw? It's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is. Let's go with something you've purchased, because I'm
Mm.
sure you've seen, you know, the most prized possession of comics in the flesh. But for you, what have you purchased that's been like, that's the one? Would it have been Spider-Man number one?
Uh, I mean, for a long time, AF-15 was my holy grail, and I wanted one. I never got one. I
Yeah.
held many in my hands because for years when I worked with CGC, as their signature series guy, I took in normal submissions at the booth while I was waiting, and so I got to see like everything. Like I held a Marvel Comics 1 in my hands, early action comics, a Detective 27, all these things. So, and then I saw a lot of Spider-Man 1s and a lot of AF-15s, and it kind of get to the point where you're like, this is an important book, but it's not like as rare as you think it might be. Like a
Hmm.
lot of people kept their copies.
Hmm.
So they're out there. They're definitely rare because you can't just go to anywhere and
Sure.
buy one.
Of course.
But after a while you're um like I love the idea of original art more because it's one of a kind, right? So
That's a good
yeah.
point. Yeah.
So I do have something I can show you which is kind of like the best piece of my art collection.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
there's an interesting story to it.
Yeah, please.
And so and then we'll see if you can see it. But
Norm Brayfogle cover,
it's a
Detective
Norm
Comics.
Brayfogle. The light's a little bright.
I can see it. It's coming through. I mean, damn, you own the cover to that.
Yeah, that's Detective whatever 590.
Gorgeous
And
cover.
it's amazing in person. The reflection's a bit much, but
No,
um,
it's coming through. It's a gorgeous cover.
just the he took X-Acto knives and cut the white strips into the cape and the splatter effect in the background for the sky
Yeah.
and the Tower of London in the background and stuff like that. Yeah,
I always regret not getting the Norm Brayfogle Batman Tales of the Untold, whatever it was called,
hmm.
Legends of the Dark Knight, that
Oh
hardcover
yeah,
they did. Because,
yeah,
yeah, he was a great pick for a Batman artist. That's beautiful,
he
Kev.
is. Yeah, I have all of those. They're awesome.
Yeah,
Um, they'll probably reprint them again.
they got to.
My only criticism of them is the trade dress is terrible.
Right? It's such a
It was
stupid trade
was
dress.
like they at one point DC fired all of their designers and they just went with basic text for all of the headlines and they're
Yeah,
like meanwhile
no love put into
Batman
it
has some of the best logos ever
ever.
and they just have Legends of the Dark Knight Norm Brofeld and like regular print and look like shit.
Yeah, no, it didn't look nice at all. I mean, when they were doing there was a couple where they had like the same trade dress going down or somewhat similar, but recently, like the one that was from
Yeah.
um, Matt Wagner or
Yeah.
the Steve Englehart, they're just so
Yeah.
plain and like blah. There's
Yeah.
nothing very attractive about them to read. Great
Well,
stuff though.
someone told me that there's aesthetic and design school right now, like a plane. It's like almost like a plane design. Like remember CIBC redid their logos a few years ago,
Okay.
and they
Yeah.
went from having a classic iconic logo to just four letters CIBC in standard text.
Yeah. Very plain. Very. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nothing to
that's
it.
part of this new school of design where they don't bother. It's just it's almost like laziness. Like they think
Yeah.
it's an aesthetic.
I can see a little bit of it in especially the DC stuff. It has a little bit more of a plainness to it.
Yeah.
Ah, whatever. I mean, we're
Yeah,
nerds. We pay
Marvel at least
attention to
still
that
uses
stuff.
their they at least still use their classic logos for stuff. But
But being getting really nerdy now in regards to collections, I'm not happy with what they did with that new omnibus font, where they went from classic, everything normal, to their X-Men, Uncanny X-Men Volume 5, completely different. Have you seen it? You
no,
must
yeah,
have seen
no,
it.
I haven't. Yeah,
It's just like, why would you finally print this? It's never been printed before, so you know that everybody's copies on their shelf don't have this model. They made it smaller,
oh,
and
yeah,
then they put that.
yeah,
And
lame.
it's like, it's yeah, if everyone before this had that, thank you, that's great. Or if you're gonna start a new character
Yeah,
or team that you haven't done before, sure. But volume
well,
five for the first time, you change it up.
that's my
Uh,
problem with a lot of what DC and Marvel do. And midstream, they'll change the design. Uh,
yeah, like, and it's almost they know the OCD that the collectors who buy those type of books have. Like they're buying them for uniformity, for presentation.
yep.
You know that. That's why there's a niche market for it that's consistent. Whatever. Getting into nerdy
Yeah.
territory. Let's talk about things that we do like, Kev.
This art has a piece of art has a great story to it.
Tell me the story. That's right.
All right. So my friend Dave, unfortunately, he's in hospice care right now.
Sorry to hear
So
that.
he had six storage units, and we had to pare them down to get them down to a reasonable amount. And he was like, he was never going to be able to access them again. So he asked us to basically organize all of his stuff and sell them for him, so he would have money in the bank to take care of his health issues. So we went in and we organized and he's still making regular money on it off of his storage units because there was just so much stuff. And he had one storage unit which was not in Toronto. It was in like Brantford, I think it was called. So on the way back during the pandemic, I went to see Jason Fabok to get some comics signed by him for CGC. They needed to get some stuff done. So I rented a van and drove it. And I said, you know what, on my way back, we'll stop by this storage unit in Brantford and see what's there. And so the lock was rusted shut. We couldn't even get into the lock.
Oh
We
no.
finally opened it and replaced the lock on it, got in, and the first thing I pulled down from the top in a frame, it was in a frame too, was this piece of artwork. And he had completely forgotten he had it. So I said, I will buy this from you as as the only thing I want to buy from your collection. So we worked out a deal. So for all my work, I was able to buy this piece of artwork. So,
Very nice.
but it
That's a
had been unseen by human eyes for 15 years.
damn. That's like
Yeah,
Indiana Jones style.
yeah. There were other pieces of artwork there too that we sold, but it was like people had been looking for this cover all over the place. And
Really,
yeah, so
Kev. It belongs in a museum.
it does. Yeah, it hopefully it'll eventually go in a museum somewhere. But it actually says at the bottom, hey Dave, thanks for the positive PR, Norm Brofogel. So I guess he bought it directly from Norm. So it was a single owner piece for quite a while. So
That's so cool to yeah, you're right. That is a very cool story to
yeah,
get into your friend's storage unit not knowing on a chance, right? Just stopping by.
yeah. I
That
mean,
must have
there was
been
a lot.
recent, right? That's
He
pretty
was
recent.
what's that?
That must have been pretty recent, like in the last few years.
Yeah. So we started working on his stuff in the winter of 2020, and so we I think the signing was in March or April of 2021. So when you couldn't do anything, you were stuck at home, or you couldn't, stores weren't really open. You could go shopping at certain hours and wear your mask and stuff. And so this was something to do. And I had been packaged out from my regular position at the hospital in the spring
Right.
before. So I had the time. I was just working on shows that may or may not ever happen at that point, because a lot of times things were announced and then canceled.
Right.
So yeah, so it was just kind of a fun thing to come across and then add to the collection and hopefully add to a museum at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's really uncovering somewhat of a grail for a lot of people, right? Because
yeah,
I remember seeing that cover in 1989. They put out this Batman book that it was kind of like an encyclopedia for its time. I have
yeah,
it downstairs still. My mom bought it for me. I couldn't read yet, and it was a pretty expensive book, but inside they had three sections that were dedicated to the most iconic covers.
yeah,
And at that time, that cover would have been rather recent, and it made the cut of iconic covers. So I was always excited when I would see the actual issue in a store when I grew up, and I'd be able to,
yeah,
go through. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the actual piece that was always in my book of Batman stuff.
yeah. Because the cover itself is they did it kind of like a powder blue,
Yeah.
which is kind of different. But yeah, I have a lot of artwork. I'm gonna see if there's anything else I want to show you from
Yes,
this.
please.
But I think I have one iconic cover that I need to show off. This is almost all Doug Mankey stuff.
Oh, nice. I'm a big
Um,
fan of his. It's still very
yeah, I have a
nice.
ton of Doug Mankey stuff.
I love Doug Monkey stuff.
There's
Does he ever come?
Justice League
I'd
cover.
love to meet him for him to come to Toronto. Yeah,
Oh,
this is
he's great.
Lobo. His
That's cool.
Superman, like I love the gritted teeth in his art. It always looks
Yeah,
like, there's a little bit of angst in that punch that Superman's gonna give you.
yep.
No, Monkey's great.
I'm very good friends with Doug, so I know him, and I bought a lot of art from him over the years. Back when I first met him, he was selling covers for like $300. So,
Jeez. Yeah,
needless to say, his price has gone up a bit.
I would say so. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
and then I also have Invincible fan here.
Ooh, see, that's my jam.
So that
Man,
is Ryan Otley from number 20 something, 27, 28. It's the first kissing page with Adam Eve.
yeah,
So
that's again with people starting to figure out who Invincible is, like with Amazon show and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
That people are going to be
yeah, I think
good choice for an Invincible page. I love
yeah.
Ryan Otley in that book. He just got better and better and better. It's
Oh
just
yeah.
so worth it. Like I said, you've seen a lot of things come through. I don't know if you've answered it, but your favorite cover. Do you
Oh
have a
well, my
favorite
favorite
cover?
cover is a Spider-Man cover.
Okay.
It's Amazing Spider-Man 151. It's a John Romita cover. Actually, it says Ross Andrew, but you can tell that Romita inked it or did something with it.
It's very Romita-esque. Why
And
why this one? What is it about this one for you?
I don't know. I think when I was a kid, it was just one of those things. It was like Spider-Man usually is much more in the light friendly, and here he is down in the sewers.
That's a great cover though. I mean, can't go
Yeah,
wrong with it.
I love the detail on the water
Yeah.
and everything. It's like he just doesn't give a crap. He's taking down the shocker no matter what.
The storytelling within the art is always what we look for, right? It's true.
Yeah,
The rats there, the New York feel.
yeah. I
Good
love the
pick.
rats. They're like one is kind of curious, the other one's kind of freaking out.
Yeah, no, great picks, Kev. I can't imagine how much fun or how terrifying it would be to try to sift through your collection because of the amount of stuff that you've got. But I'm sure there's a
Yeah,
lot to see. The hot toys will stay for you, right? That's not going nowhere. Marty and Doc are staying in the living room.
yeah. For now, yeah. I mean, I'm in a two-bedroom apartment, and it's a good sized space. I have a dining room as well, but it's like there's the Marvel wall of books, so it's four full bookcases of stuff. Um, and then I have the DC room where I've got
DC
another
room.
six bookshelves of DC stuff. Then I've got two shelves in the front hallway, which are like independent books, like Scott Pilgrim and things like that.
Right, of course.
Stuff that's not superhero. And then the
Making the most
DC
of your
room at
space.
the back, which is the other bedroom, has the Star Wars Hot Toys wall, And then the rest is they're the DC Hot Toys in there and some of the Marvel Hot Toys. And
Nice.
then in my bedroom, I have the Spider-Man wall of Hot Toys. And in my dining room, I have the Iron Man display.
So you eat with the Iron Man, sleep with
Oh,
the
I don't eat.
spiders,
I don't eat in the kitchen. I usually just eat in front of the TV. But yeah, it's.
with Marty and
I have
Doc.
my old counter from the comic book lounge is in my dining room, and it's the home for the Tony Stark display.
Yeah, you got rooms, you've got shelves, everything is accounted for. You know how many extras of what you got, so
Yeah.
I get it. We're all on that boat. That's why we love this thing, right? It's part of the fun, the hunt.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap it up here, Kev.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure talking with you. I'm gonna get you back on soon. We'll talk movies and all the stuff that we like to do. But for
Sounds
those
good.
that were listening, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, please do the same. It helps us make better stuff for you. And Kev, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Fan Expo. It's been a long time, so it'll be an opportunity to catch up in person. But for everyone listening, don't forget this August 2023, Metro Toronto Convention Center, August 24th to the 27th. Come check us out, Fan Expo Canada. It's the big one.
Yeah.
Come and see us. Kev, thank you so much.
No problem.
Everybody, thank you for
Be
listening.
there and be square.
That's right.
I think that's the way to